We don't know.
We're going to get trampled if we don't go. Let's go. We're going to get trampled. Oh my God.
Whenever you get a notification on your phone or stick on the telly, a mass shooting in the US is a far too common occurrence. Since May 2022, there have been at least 3 mass shootings in the United States. One in New York, killing 10. Another at a school in Texas, killing 21. And one in Oklahoma, killing 4. The debate over the Second Amendment and Americans' right to own guns has been ongoing for many years. In the immediate aftermath of a shooting, passionate arguments between the pro and anti-gun politicians and lobbies takes place.
Pass the mic to Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick. Excuse me. Excuse me.
Sit down.
You're out of line and an embarrassment.
I can't believe you're a sick son of a bitch that would come to a deal like this to make a political issue.
But this eventually leads to no changes, and the debate is only reignited after another act of mass violence. Ironically, gun consumption actually tends to rise in the aftermath of a mass shooting. Peter Hitchens is a journalist for the Mail on Sunday, who has argued for many years that a debate or national conversation regarding drug consumption and violent acts needs to take place. But this has fallen on deaf ears.
Speaking of context, one of the things you wrote about this week was the Texas shooting and the connection to marijuana, as there so often is.
Well, or is there? We don't know. Very competent reporters down. They spoke to a member of staff of the Wendy's hamburger restaurant in Uvalde, who had worked alongside Ramos, the killer. And she said, amongst other things, that he'd told her that he had terrible rows with his mother and his grandmother over his use of marijuana.
However, after the recent waves of mass shootings, Laura Ingraham of Fox News came out and discussed the possibility of a link between drug use and these shootings.
Respected medical studies for years now have demonstrated that pot use, especially among teens, can trigger psychosis and increase the chance that a young person will develop violent behaviors.
Data on the number of victims of mass shootings since the 1960s makes interesting reading. From 1966 to 1984, the amount of victims was at a very low level, and for a number of years in this period there were no injuries or deaths recorded. Then in the late 1980s onwards, there is a steady rise in the number of victims before quickly rising in the late 2000s and 2010s. This situation has only got worse in the 2020s. A survey shows that from 1985 to 2013, consumption of marijuana, in this case just trying the substance once, has remained fairly steady, ranging from 33% to 38%, which would indicate that this is not the reason for the spike in mass shootings. However, at the same time, the THC in marijuana, which is the psychoactive substance that produces the high associated with smoking the drug, and can also lead to central nervous system depression, has increased from well below 5% in the 1960s to over 10% or nearly 20% in the 2010s, depending on the data you look at. Other data states that nearly half of the attackers in mass shootings have a history of drug abuse. But this is just another way of saying that over half of the mass shooters do not have a history of drug abuse. Therefore, the question concerning whether drug consumption is inherently linked to mass shootings is far from simple to answer convincingly, and needs to be looked into further. This video has not touched on social media, the desire for fame, or the decline of Christian America as other possible causes which create a mass killer. I hope you found this video interesting. Thanks very much for listening. Bye.